Sea of Trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson, celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus Hyundai, home of the Kona electric vehicle, an electric heart with an SUV soul. Test drive yours today at Cars Plus. McDonald's of Guam, I'm Loving It, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on Primetime, President Biden speaks of plans during the State of the Union address. Plus, the USS Abraham Lincoln docks for a port visit with over 5,000 crew members aboard. And the Gov Guam isolation facility is moved to a smaller location. Hafa and good evening, everyone. I'm Hannah Devonzo, and thanks for tuning in to your news leader. With prices rising rapidly and a war raging in Ukraine, President Biden laid out his plans to confront both in his State of the Union address before a joint session of Congress and guests, including Ukraine's ambassador to the U.S., Natalie Brand, reports.
Madam Speaker, the President of the United States.
President Biden entered the House chamber for his first State of the Union address with the focus on the war in Europe. Lawmakers wore blue and yellow ribbons to show their support for Ukraine.
Stand and send an unmistakable signal to the world of Ukraine.
The president announced he's closing U.S. airspace to Russian aircraft following the move of European allies.
Further isolating Russia and adding additional squeeze on their economy.
The president also stressed the importance of the NATO alliance in standing up to Russia's unprovoked aggression and Vladimir Putin.
He thought he could divide us at home, in this chamber, in this nation. He thought he could divide us in Europe as well. But Putin was wrong. We are ready.
On the home front, the president took credit for job growth, touted his bipartisan physical infrastructure bill, and laid out his plan to tackle inflation.
Instead of relying on foreign supply chains, let's make it in America.
The president also announced what he's calling a unity agenda, action items for Congress that have bipartisan support, including improving mental health care.
Let's take on mental health, especially among our children whose lives and education have been turned upside down.
President Biden made his case to the nation with an approval rating that's dropped to 44%. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And as is tradition, the president will hit the road tomorrow. He's going to Wisconsin with the First Lady to talk about his domestic agenda. President Biden also acknowledged the effect COVID-19 has had on the economy and the ways it has impacted Americans. He highlighted relief provided by the American Rescue Plan positive job numbers and economic growth. Reacting to his address, Congressman Michael San Nicolas said, "We share the president's sentiments. That is, it is the time to open up our community, support people getting back to work, execute to normalizing managing COVID like we do all other illnesses and diseases, and get all of the relief money the Congress made available to include the over $400 million this administration is sitting on out to our people." Meanwhile, the president announced that starting next week, Americans can start ordering another batch of free COVID test kits at covidtest.gov. Governor Lou Leon Guerrero says her administration stands wholeheartedly with the president, adding that now is the time for us to focus on rebuilding our future after 2 years of balancing the health of our people and economy. She adds, "We fully support the president's plan to lower consumer costs, particularly on prescription drugs, energy, and child care. These initiatives will build on the investments we have made island-wide and the strengthen the relief programs being executed locally by the hardworking men and women in our agencies. As we walk this road to recovery together, we thank everyone for their collective commitment to moving forward." The USS Abraham Lincoln is on a routine deployment and port visit to Guam. However, its arrival comes amid the Russian invasion of Ukraine and tensions rising in the Asia-Pacific region among the world's superpowers. Tomas Manglutnia reports on the role of the more than 5,000 crew members on board and the history-making captain at the helm.
Over 5,000 crew members are aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln that docked for a port visit to Guam after leaving San Diego on January 3rd. They've traveled over 19,000 miles, including for multi-carrier operations in the Philippine Sea and South China Sea with allies.
Every day these sailors are working really hard to preserve the freedom of navigation and free flow of commerce throughout the Indo-Pacific region. A very important mission to both of our all of our nations.
Commanding Officer Captain Amy Barenschmidt is the first female at the helm of a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. They're joined with a carrier strike group. Her first visit to Guam was in 1997, and it's her sixth deployment in the Western Pacific. This time as Russia invades Ukraine and focus is split with another eye on China and North Korea.
There's no question that the actions from Russia, they violate kind of the core principles that govern global peace and security, and their actions also have unified the world as well as further isolated it, and they stand in contrast to the principles that we uphold. With respect to China, we're focused on strategic competition as a nation with China to counter Chinese Communist Party malign influence in order to maintain a free and open Indo-Pacific.
The military's might on full display as some of the Navy's best fighter aircrafts on board, weighing up to 64,000 pounds, can launch every 30 seconds.
We watch the news just like everybody else watches the news, and we're just ready to respond wherever our leadership has asked us and tasked us to go.
They're laser focused on staying ready, and they're also staying COVID safe while visiting the island with a 100% vaccination rate and no cases so far. It's a long time coming for the at least 16 crew members on board with ties to Guam. Monique Camacho Winslet last visited with the Navy 6 years ago.
And once I see my godkids and my aunties and my uncles and my brother, I'm probably going to cry and then eat my feelings because, I miss the food.
A chance to catch their breath while the world watches nations navigate changing tides. Tomas Manglotnya for KUAM News.
Operation Talon Lighting is launching in Rota. According to Joint Base Pearl Harbor and Joint Region Marianas, the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense Battery is deploying a THAAD remote launch package, including one THAAD launcher. The equipment is being moved from Andersen Air Force Base on Guam to the Rota Airport. A media release states it will allow the military to gather data and test its capacity. The THAAD launcher is able to be controlled from a different location away from the control center. Rear Admiral Benjamin Nicholson says that missile defense is the top priority for Indo-Pacific Command in the region. This is just an exercise and is not permanent deployment. With cases and hospitalizations on the decline, the Department of Public Health and Social Services has decided to move its isolation facility to a smaller location. Daniel Perez reports.
With the closure of the Bayview Isolation Facility early this morning, GovGuam has opened an alternative lodging facility at the Garden Court in Tumon. Residents can make use of the ALTFAC if they meet the following criteria: proof of a positive COVID test no more than 24 hours prior to admission, are asymptomatic or with mild to moderate COVID symptoms and not in need of hospitalization. They must also be able to care for themselves. They share a residence with someone who is immune compromised or is at high risk for severe COVID illness, must not have close contact with family living in their residence in their initial infectious period, and if the patient is a minor, they must be accompanied by a parent, legal guardian, or authorized representative. Accompanying caretakers are recommended to receive a valid COVID-19 test upon admission with COVID-19 individual and again upon discharge. According to COVID-19 Incident Commander Fernando Esteves, admission to the ALTFAC will also be on a case-by-case basis.
It's going to be up to the containment team to make those determinations. Every situation is going to be evaluated specifically.
Esteves noted the decision to transition to a smaller isolation facility was made because a larger one was no longer needed.
We've been evaluating this and kind of planning our drawdown and phase down to more endemic type operations, right? As we live with this virus. Now that we're trending downward, now that we understand, the nature of transmission, especially within the household and how quick it is, and also coupled with the data where demand for isolation is extremely low, we've opted to go ahead and make this operational change.
Residents who may need to make use of the ALTFAC can dial the 311 number and choose option 1. Additionally, more cases of the stealth variant have been confirmed to be on Guam. DPHSS has received more virus samples that were sent out to Hawaii for genome sequencing. Out of the 10 virus samples collected from January 31st, 9 were identified as the stealth variants. Daniel Perez reporting for KUAM News.
Over in the CNMI, immune-compromised residents can now get a 4th dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Tomas Mangletnia has the details.
The CNMI adds another dose to its COVID-19 arsenal. Eligible residents can get a 4th shot.
This has been approved by the CDC for people who are moderately or severely immunocompromised. This includes people who are on cancer treatment, are organ transplant recipients, are HIV, or are on immunosuppressive drugs.
It comes as nearly 30% of tests conducted come up as positive. Saipan, Tinian, and Rota combined reporting triple-digit daily cases and single-digit hospitalizations. But health officials say those rates are starting to drop. They see the region mimicking trends across the country. She says they have hundreds of Pfizer and Moderna shots in stock.
So their 4th dose can happen 3 months after the 3rd dose, and it should be one of the mRNA vaccines.
Those wanting the 4th jab should discuss it with their provider. She says sooner is better, and it could be the case that anyone can get the 4th dose soon too.
Similar to the way the booster was rolled out, that they first saved it for the highest risk individuals, and then quickly over time, other people were eligible.
Tomas Manglotnia for KUAM News.
Stick around for more news here on Primetime. Coming up, iLearn Academy Charter School responds to the recent OPA audit. This story and more when your news leader returns.
Don't need a work break, keep the smile on your face. The moments you can't replace, and I'll be around. Whoa, you can count on me. You can count on me for life.
Wherever life takes you, we're always here for you. Calvo's Insurance. Count on us for life.
We all start somewhere. We start with the day. We start with him. We start with family. We start with a lesson. And the perfect wave. We start here and here. We start at your office and your home. We start with the connections that matter the most, the ones that move us, change us, inspire us. In an ever-expanding world, personal connections are what tie everything together, what ties us together. We all start somewhere. At GTA, we start with you.
This COVID pandemic has posed unprecedented challenges for our restaurant, and like many others, we rely on our tourism and hospitality industry. We've done everything we needed to do for our employees. It was our commitment to them to keep the doors open. They're the heart of what we do, and they have a heart for service. From the beginning, our customers, our team, and our community have been the top priority. We have adopted a highly infectious disease control policy and sanitation guidelines to help our team prepare and respond to COVID-19 while keeping our doors open and maintaining our level of service. Through the pandemic, we have been able to get federal assistance and program grants to help keep our doors open within the last 2 years. Our employees have been able to get PUA, which helps supplement their loss of wages, and we are very thankful for that. If you have any questions or concerns regarding federal issues, please reach out to your congressman's office.
Thank you for the unemployment assistance.
Thank you for the federal funds.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael F.Q. San Nicolas.
At the start of the pandemic, being the only provider in my household, I was so worried that I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to pay my bills.
I still work, but it was short hours, like only 2 hours, 3 hours a day, and that didn't really cut it.
I wasn't really thinking about getting any type of federal assistance.
I got PUA and I got seniors, and it's helped a lot. It really means a lot to us.
It really took a lot of burdens off my shoulders. It really helped me to provide for my family and put food on the table, and it really came at my time of need.
Yeah, it kind of dropped your worries down because everything was less stress.
I was able to stay at home with my son and not worry about having to work during the pandemic.
Thank you for the federal fund.
Thank you for the unemployment assistance.
Thank you so much for the pandemic unemployment assistance. If you have any questions, please contact your congressman's office.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael F.Q. San Nicolas.
Know what's up on our KUAM News WhatsApp tip line at 671-727-0094. Share information about what's happening in your town, on Guam or the CNMI, and what you want us to know. Reach us on WhatsApp at 671-727-0094.
A scary situation at the Dededo Skate Park. At around 12:45 a.m. Wednesday, 2 men ages 20 and 21 were assaulted by a group of men. KUAM reached out to Dededo Mayor Melissa Suarez, who said she was able to speak to one of the victims' mothers, who said the attackers seemed to be intoxicated. The mother also claimed it took the Guam Police Department over 20 minutes to arrive to the scene. The 2 men were transported to the Guam Regional Medical City for their injuries. Their condition is unknown at this time. And a lot more people will qualify for the newly reinstated Programan Salapi than the original program. Department of Administration's Director Ed Byrne says they're still working on the qualifications, though, which should be ready by mid-month. Here's more.
Director Byrne says since they're using American Rescue Plan money, they're governed by U.S. Treasury rules. They're working off a formula similar to one used by Hawaii that's based on a percentage of average federal minimum wages.
Because the income levels are much, much higher. And the original program, SLAP, if you remember, was actually directed at people that didn't have any other welfare support. This one disregards that and will just be paid out to everyone that's in that income category.
In short, many more people will qualify.
And it obviously will be a much wider program than the previous program, SLAPI, which paid out, was one payout. This is going to be 3 payouts, and I expect it'll affect probably around about somewhere between 60 and 75,000 people.
But that means a lot more work for DOA, which will have to cut 3 $100 monthly checks instead of just 1.
I think it was decided that it would be in the benefit of the recipients to get three different payments because it allowed them better to budget.
The original aim was to supplement monthly gas purchases in the face of soaring fuel costs, although the money is not restricted to just gas. You'll be able to apply online by mid-March or at DOA offices in the ITC building or at your village mayor's office. For KUAM News, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Applications for the local war claims program can be submitted beginning April 1st, 2022 through March 3rd of 2023. The Claims Adjudication Committee met for the first time Tuesday evening and elected Commission of Decolonization Executive Director Melvin Juan Pat Borja as chairman. Other members include Governor Lou Leon Guerrero, Speaker Therese Terlahi, Mayor Council President Jesse Allig, George Bamba, and Joey Franquez. Applications will be accepted online at the Guam Museum and Village Mayor's office. Chairman Borja expects a big rush in the first few months before they start tapering off.
I know that it is pressing and demanding, but I agree with Director Byrne's suggestion to meet weekly, at least in the beginning of the process, because we will be flooded with a high volume of claims, and like you said, it would be. I think it's prudent for us to try to adjudicate these claims as quickly and efficiently as possible.
$10 million in general fund money has been authorized for the payments. Governor Lou Leon Guerrero is expected to sign a bill that would open the claims to any war victim or their heirs, regardless of date of death. Payments will range from $10,000 to $25,000. Those who have already received payment under the federal program are not eligible for a second local payment. DOA will be working with the feds to be able to cross-reference all those who have been paid. iLearn clarified some of the issues in the financial year 2021 audit report this morning. With more in this next report, here's KUAM's Isaiah Uggan.
An audit report released by the Office of Public Accountability on Tuesday shows that iLearn Academy Charter School accepted 127 students over the authorized enrollment cap in the fiscal year 2021. Following a couple of discussions with the Guam legislature, Rachel O'Carroll State, the chief academic officer, says that they weren't in the wrong due to verbal approvals from lawmakers.
In both sessions, they had given us
the green light to go ahead, the verbal assurance that we would be approved for 740, because at the time we were still only approved for 620. So in June and July, which are the busiest months for enrollment because school starts in August, we went ahead and enrolled the additional 127 students. Then when the budget came out, I believe in August of that school year, we had noticed that our enrollment cap was still at 620. We were already a week into the school year, I believe. So instead of breaking the news to those 127 students as parents that they would have to go and find an alternate school as the school year had already started, we had decided to keep the 127 students at no additional cost to the government, and instead we absorbed the cost of the additional students.
According to the OPA, the number of enrolled students at $6,15,000 per pupil remained the same compared to the prior year due to impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. iLearn's student cap was adjusted to 740 from 620 this school year, a year later after the roundtable discussions were held. Meanwhile, the audit report conducted by independent auditors Ernst & Young LLP also indicates an audit adjustment of $191,000 due to non-compliance with the policy.
The policy that iLearn has is any item or equipment that is worth $500 or more is considered a capital asset, and we have to itemize it. What ended up happening was when we had written into each grant additional one-to-one devices and their accessories, we had listed those items as a system, so as a whole unit. And so what ended up happening is when we got audited, what we should have done was for those different accessories individually, they should have been itemized individually, which would have been less than $500. And so those should have been listed as expense instead of assets.
SAIC says that iLearn will follow the policy moving forward. Reporting for KUAM News, Guahusi Isaiah Uggan.
Ahead, Dave Delgado has results from the ISA Softball League. And still to come, many of the island's Catholic faithful attend Ash Wednesday Mass, signifying the start of the Lenten season. Keep it here. You're watching KUAM News.
Honey, do you want some milk?
Do you ever wonder how your favorite products make their way into your local stores? Most arrive on state-of-the-art Matson vessels that transport containers of food, household items, equipment, and supplies into the islands every week. Because we know that you depend on us, we work closely with our partners to ensure that our shipments arrive on time, all the time, so you can find your favorite products when you need them. We transport the region's most precious cargo that supports successful businesses and promotes a better quality of life for our families. Matson is proud to have been the hometown shipping carrier for Guam, the CNMI, and Micronesia for the past 25 years, and you can count on us to be here for generations to come.
It's beautiful.
It is, right, baby?
Dad, isn't that where we usually stop for gas?
It's where we used to stop, but not anymore.
But isn't that the place with the milkshakes?
Okay, all right, let's go.
Get it out, kids.
Take your adventure further in the first ever Santa Fe Hybrid.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Simon Sanchez and Teasen High stepped onto the Ukadu field for a chance to move up in the East Softball League standings. Teasen High at the plate first. Isabella Acosta hits an RBI double to give her team the 1-0 lead. Ground out here advances Acosta to third base. Teammate Tony Tykenko grounds out to first, but scores Acosta from third base. Shout out to left fielder Terrelin Agualo from Teasen, who comes up with the great grab, preventing Sanchez from scoring several runs. Sharks' Angelita Limes hits the shot over second base to score Alyssa Blas. Sanchez scored 2 runs in the bottom of the inning. Sharks added another 4 on their next trip to the plate to lead 6-4. Haley Derby comes home off a passed ball that goes over the catcher's head. Teasen scored a run in the third, courtesy of Agualo, who brings home Jamie Harris after getting jammed up at the plate. Ball stays fair. Alyssa Blas ripped the double to score 2 more runs as Sanchez cruised to an 8-3 lead after 4 innings. The Titans added 2 runs in the top of the 5th, 1 in the 6th and 2 in the 7th, but fell short, losing 15-8. Hazel Dubai goes to shallow center with the pitch and scores Blas, who is hustling around the bases. Renee Lazarus takes a shot deep to left, scoring 2 runs as the Sharks lock up the 3rd seed heading into the playoffs. Regular season play wraps up on Thursday when Ukudu takes on Guam High at Guam High. GW will face JFK at JFK. Both games start at 4 in the afternoon. Playoffs begin next Tuesday, March 8th. The 2022 Guam High School National Championships, presented by the Guam Basketball Confederation, takes place this Saturday, March 5th at the UOG Calvo Fieldhouse. Admission is $10 for adults and $5 for students. Junior varsity girls hit the court first at 1, followed by the junior varsity boys at 2:30. Then the varsity girls lace up at 4 in the afternoon, followed by the varsity boys at 6 p.m.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Need a new phone? Trade in now and get up to $500 off our best 5G devices. Trade in your older phone in any condition and step up to better savings and speeds only our 5G network can provide. Check out our website and catch up on the best mobile experience. Trade in now. Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Mobile Smiles just got bigger and better. Get more Smiles points for every gallon of fuel you purchase. Or get more miles with United Mileage Plus. Register your Smiles card online to start redeeming rewards today at guam.mobilesmiles.com.
Around this time of the year, you'd usually see several Catholics within Guam's community with marks on their forehead signifying the start of the Lenten season. However, like last year, this isn't the case. Tyler Matanani reports.
Catholics around the island gathered to genuflect and receive the ashes that officially mark the Lenten season. But due to COVID-19, like last year, the church administered the ashes in a non-traditional way.
The ashes will be sprinkled on top of your head instead of the traditional forehead. We're still keeping our guard up. We don't want it because of it's congregation gathering. We want to make sure that the gov doesn't close us again. I think so. We want to make sure that we're doing our part and ensuring the safety of our people.
Father Mike Chrysostomo explains how what was once used as a mark to publicly shame sinners has evolved to a symbol of humility.
The ashes now are a symbolic way of understanding that we are penitents. We are in need of forgiveness and mercy in our lives, and that comes from God.
The Lenten season is a time for Catholics to reevaluate their lives, their relationship with God, and to practice the spiritual discipline of sacrifice, fasting, and abstaining. Choir director for St. Francis Church, Kathy Calvo-Cruz, shares how in the past she herself fell from the faith, but rediscovered peace and solace when she returned.
So I want to tell the Catholics that are out there, even people in the world, that whenever you feel that you have broken away and you've committed sin, God will take you back no matter what you've done. And you need to know that. Are we here on this earth to do what we want to do or to do the bidding of God.
The season of sacrifice also serves as a reminder to Catholics that one day this life will pass.
It reminds us of who we are and where we will be at the end of our lives in this planet. We will return back to dust. And because of that teeny tiny little timeline that we have on this earth, we need to make the best and do the best of every second in our life.
For KUAM News, I'm Tyler Matinani.
Everyone's spidey senses were tingling, and those who shook their hands were begging to never let go. After photos circulated social media of Hollywood actors Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio on Guam, fans flocked to Tumon in the hopes of catching a moment with the stars. Daryl Garcia shares how running into one of his friends got him placed at the right place at the right time.
And Ted was like, there they are. I turned over and I looked. I was like, that's Tobey Maguire and that's Leonardo DiCaprio right there walking towards us. Tun had a gift bag. So when they went to the elevator, Tun had the guts to go to the elevator to give them the items. And then I was there and he fist bumped them. I was just shaking the entire time. Spider-Man was like my thing, you know, as a kid.
Garcia, an avid movie buff, shared in a tweet that he won't be washing his hands for a while. Sources tell KUAM that DiCaprio is just passing through en route to Indonesia for a film. And before we close out the news tonight, our latest round of birthday shout-outs from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
Let's all say happy birthday on the second day of March, and we have, fittingly, 2 birthday babies to get to, starting with Josephine Phone Cruz. Happy birthday number 78 to Mom. I wish I could be home to celebrate this special day with you. Your shout-out says, I love you, and I will be home soon. Love your daughter, Becky. Very, very nice, and happy birthday to you, Miss Josephine. Also, Davika Jean Whitman, happy birthday to you, and we love you. Your family says, please enjoy your day. So to Davika and to Josephine, we're very happy to have both of you as our birthday celebrants today, and we wish you the best birthday ever.
That's going to do it for us here on Primetime. Thanks for watching, and good night.